We're here at the motherboard section of the MSI booth, and we're checking out the latest in memory innovation. Cam 2. It's one of the coolest things I've seen at this whole event, and before I go over it, a big thanks to MSI Australia for making my dream of attending Computex come true. So, what is Cam 2? It's a new way to connect DDR5 memory with a new form factor. It slots into the motherboard like a CPU socket for a much better connection than regular sticks. There are plenty of benefits of Cam 2, including much faster speeds starting at DDR5 8400, and the production cost for the memory manufacturer is actually cheaper than SODIMM or DIMMs. But the socket on the motherboard increases manufacturing costs, and an MSI rep told me they should approximately cancel each other out with economies of scale. And if the board owner happens to mess up the pins with a heavy hand, a Cam 2 socket can be easily replaced for a new one, unlike a CPU socket. The super low profile memory will also do wonders for mini ITX boards, and worrying about memory clearance in a case will be a thing of the past. Something else I found out during the discussion is that Cam 2 is already running much faster. Think 10,000 MHz. And yes, it's running in dual channel configuration. Very useful for integrated graphics, as they're still very bandwidth starved with the current speeds. DDR5 5600 just isn't going to cut it moving forward. Since Cam 2 is no longer 2 or 4 DIMMs stacked next to each other vertically on a desktop motherboard, or stacked on top of each other like SODIMMs in a laptop or mini PC, it's actually much easier to cool using a heatsink straight over the memory chips. Cool, right? Oh, and RGB fans don't need to worry. The heatsink here even connects to an RGB header on the motherboard, so you don't need to despair about those glowing sticks disappearing too much. Cam 2 modules are being released soon, starting with Kingston, and will go up all the way to 128 gigabytes. So, that should cover almost everyone in the consumer market. This is one of the most innovative pieces of tech I've seen, and I hope it shows up in mini PCs going forward. The iGPUs could really use that faster memory speed. Otherwise, integrated graphics progress will come to a halt. For now though, Cam 2 will just be found in high-end desktop motherboards, as you'd expect with the latest tech. Another new memory type shown at Computex is the Mini QDIMM. Interestingly, the slots on the motherboard look just like SODIMM slots. This is a joint venture between MSI and Intel, with the aim of making the fastest memory possible. There's a lot of high tech there, which makes the speeds go completely bananas. How well it'll hold up against Cam 2 remains to be seen, but isn't it great we're starting to see some innovation on the memory side of things? I thought DDR5 was pretty unimpressive when it launched, and now we're seeing some real speed increases coming to the market. There's no release day for Mini QDIMM, and it may never come to market, but it's cool to see nonetheless. The MSI Claw is a gaming handheld featuring the Core Ultra 7 155H, and it's playing Street Fighter 6, no problem. Although I don't know the frame rate, resolution, detail settings, and so on. But it was fun to get my hands on it, and there's quite the lineup to play it at Computex. Even though the Claw is already out on the market, this is my first time to mess around with this handheld. It's big and chunky, featuring a 7-inch 120Hz display at 1080p resolution with VRR. While I feel portability is not its strong suit, same as the Steam Deck, it felt really nice to hold in my largish hands. Build quality is nice, and the controls from my brief playtest seem to be just fine. There's also a Core Ultra 5 135H model, which also had Street Fighter 6 on it, and also played without issue. I'm curious on the frame rate and detail settings differences between the two. Anyway, I also returned to the booth another day to play some Fallout 4 on the Claw. It also plays well on this handheld. Speaking of Fallout, MSI is releasing a Fallout Limited Edition Claw, which ties in with the success of the TV show. This is the biggest MSI Claw announcement at Computex, as the limited edition is also a whole new handheld. Dubbed the MSI Claw 8 AI+, it's going to feature Intel's latest Lunar Lake CPU, whenever that releases. And if you thought a 7-inch screen wasn't big enough, you'll be happy to hear the new Claw will also come in an 8-inch display variant with an 80 watt-hour battery and an extra Thunderbolt 4 port. It's good to see an Intel-based handheld going up against the competition, and looks like the Claw will be a regular in MSI's new product showcases going forward. Okay, now we're checking out some monitors. I was surprised to hear MSI is now the third best-selling QD OLED monitor brand in the world. The top two actually make the panels, so beating them is a tough ask. The MSI Mag E2 is one of the most interesting ones I've seen. It's a QD OLED 27-inch 1440p monitor, targeting the lowest price basically, by bringing down the refresh rate from 360Hz down to 240. And that shaves off $50 to bring the price down to $650, which I hear is one of the lowest prices around for a QD OLED. And definitely at a price point I'd be interested in jumping in on the technology for gaming. I mean, work. The motion clarity of OLED is hard to overstate. Other displays just don't compare. The Mag E2 uses a Samsung QD OLED display and the image quality is very nice, as you'd expect. Me actually using the display has sold me on it more than hearing about it from elsewhere. It's such a big difference in image quality. But if you need something bigger, MSI's 32-inch 4K QD OLED monitor might be of interest. Same deal. It's 240Hz refresh rate with this one, and it also has USB-C power delivery up to 90 watts. Or maybe you're more interested in an ultra-wide. This one's a 34-inch curved QD OLED monitor with 3440 by 1440 resolution and 240Hz. A perfect replacement for my editing display. Oh, hey look, it's some of that AI. Where's Jensen? He'd be all over this. Oh right, he's probably off signing some boobs somewhere. Okay, so that's the QD OLED range, which had me impressed. Here we have the MSI MPG Trident AS14. It's one of the more compact full-featured gaming desktops around. While I wouldn't call it a small PC, for a desktop it is compact enough to place on top of your desk without it being obnoxious. This small form factor PC features up to a 14th gen Intel Core i7-14700 and up to an RTX 4070 Super for the graphics card to help you play the latest AAA titles. Most importantly of all, it's got some of that RGB action, which makes it go faster. I can't tell you about its noise or thermals, but it looks pretty cool for a pre-build and definitely has that gamer aesthetic. And if you are into pre-built desktop gaming PCs, but don't care about the size so much, you might be interested in the MSI Mag Infinity E114. Up to an Intel i7-14700F and NVIDIA RTX 4070 GPU in a more classic desktop gamer style case, again with RGB. There's also a white model with a different case which has MSI's Silent Storm cooling too, which they claim optimizes airflow by separating the chambers. I did play games on all these systems, even though pre-built desktops aren't my thing. But one thing I learned at Computex is there's something for everyone. So that's it for the MSI sponsored Computex coverage. Be sure to check out the first video in the top right corner if you want to see some cool new stuff like the reveal of the upcoming QB-NUC mini PC. And stay tuned for more mini PC content coming soon. Cheers!